colleague Emma. She's on Zoom right now, manning the chat. So any questions you have, please feel free to put in the chat, and we'll get those addressed. So with that, all right, we'll go ahead and start. Welcome everyone to the first workshop of this spring through the Ignite Hub. My name is Chris Stevens. I'm a career coach. I work for an organization called Career Catchers, and we're partnered with the Ignite Hub to bring you this workshop today. So thank you all for coming, and a big thank you to the Ignite Hub for hosting. As I mentioned, we do want this session to be interactive. So if you do have any questions or comments you'd like to share, please feel free to put them in the chat, and I'm can address that throughout the presentation. Also happy to take questions at the end. All right, so today we will be talking about cracking the code, the job of finding a job. Now, what does that mean? Well, anyone who is in the process of job searching right now, or maybe has had to look for a job in the past, it's most people. You sort of come to understand that the process of looking for a job is basically a full-time job in and of itself, right? You're putting in a similar amount of effort to working a job. You're putting that same amount of effort into your job search. So the goal of today's presentation is to walk you through the steps of that, and hopefully pass on some tips and strategies that make this process just a little bit easier for you. We'll be talking about, there we go, sort of how to get started, how to prepare for the job market, how to use tools like online job boards, the importance of networking strategies, and how to follow up with potential employers, as well as creating a job search plan and handling the rejection that you may encounter during this whole process. So getting started, like any sort of journey, you can't really have a good idea about where you're going if you're not sure where you're starting from. And that holds true with the job search, right? So the very first thing that you want to do when you're starting out in your job search is to do a self-assessment, right? What are you interested in, right? Where do you want to, where do you see yourself at the end of this process? Pretty basic question, but a very important. What is it that you want to do and feel like that you will be interested in doing over the course of a career? Now, of course, that's subject to change, and that's totally fine. But at least to begin, you should have an idea of what you're interested in and what you want to pursue. In addition to that, you also want to take a look at things like your skills and your strengths, right? What are you good at, or what would you like to learn more about? And what jobs or career fields will those be a good fit for? Again, ideally, you're looking for something that you're gonna enjoy doing for a long time. So having this baseline foundation is very important. There are a number of tools for this, both there you can find assessments online and things like that. You can also take a pen and a notepad and write things down. That's fine too. It can be very informal. In addition to things like skills and strengths and interests, you also want to get you also want to determine for yourself what kind of work environment you're looking for, right? What is the career field you're pursuing? What does the salary look like for that? We all have different responsibilities and obligations, and ideally you want to find something that can help you meet those. So things like salary, work environment, is it remote? Is it in person? What's the type of work you'll be doing? All of that stuff is very important as well. And that can really help you narrow down your choices. Now, if you're open to a lot of stuff, that's totally fine. I work with a lot of people who, say they're sort of open to any opportunities. But the first thing I always try to help them do is narrow down their choices, at least to start. It gives us a foundation, gives us a baseline, gives us a starting point. So this self-assessment is very important, and I do think a lot of times people jump right into the resumes and the job applications, without sort of doing this first. But this really does provide the foundation for success later. Thank you. Pass it. There we go. Thank you. All right. So you've assessed your wants, your needs, your skills, your strengths, and you have an idea about about where you want to go. Great. So what's the next step? Well, there's a saying that an idea without goals or without a plan is only a dream. And that's what we have right now, an idea. But to actually sort of chart a course towards, towards getting to where you want to be, you need a pathway, right? And that's where goal setting comes in. Setting goals provides you focus and it provides you accountability. Without those, it can be very hard to stay on track throughout your process. When we talk about setting goals, we talk about setting short and long-term goals, right? What are some things that you can work on, and hopefully complete, within a few months, maybe. Those are short-term goals. Versus, where do you want to be at the end of your journey? What are some longer-term things, maybe a few years, that you're keeping in mind as you're completing these other short-term goals. So, you're going to have, multiple goals along your job search path. And it's important to remember that as you're setting goals, you want to use the method of setting SMART goals, right? So you want goals that are going to be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. I won't go too much into detail, but basically, the more specific the goal, the better, right? It helps you, focus your job search. We're at the Ignite Hub, so using IT as an example, a goal could be that you want to work in the IT field. Great. But it's often helpful to narrow that down. Do you want to work in a help desk capacity? Do you want to do cybersecurity? Do you want to do networking, right? The more specific, the better, because that really gives you concrete things that you can focus on. The goal does need to be measurable. You need to know how far along you are towards getting towards your goal. Otherwise, it can be kind of discouraging. So you want to be able to measure your progress towards your goal. The goal should be attainable. Something that you're able to attain, so you're not sort of setting too high expectations and feeling discouraged, right? Realistic. The goal should be realistic to attain, right? If I say that I want to become president, great. Anything is possible. Now, is that realistic for me based on where I am right now? Probably not, without some pretty major changes. So, just having a realistic idea of what that goal looks like. And then, of course, timely. So you want to give yourself a timeline. It can be very easy to say, oh, I've got a goal to do something, but, I'll get to it tomorrow, right? And before you know it, a lot of time has passed and, not a lot of progress has been made. So you want to make sure you have a time limit as well. And all of this can change, but again, this is to give yourself a baseline. So this is a good example of an assessment right here. For anyone who's interested in the IT field, the CompTIA website has a career change assessment, right? You can put in the skills that you have and see how they might transfer into an IT field. And this is pretty important because a lot of folks who may be interested in IT may not have a lot of previous IT experience, and that's okay. But chances are you have skills that are going to be relevant to the IT field, and that's where the transferable skills come in. So, for instance, if you come from a customer service or retail background, and you're interested in the IT field, great. That all that customer service experience is perfect for a help desk role, which is mostly customer service. So already you have a skill that can transfer into your chosen field. Anyway, so this is an example of assessment. There are some other ones that we'll talk about as we go through the presentation. But this is a great place to start, and I recommend everyone check it out. All right. So you've got an idea of your goals and your interests, what you want to do. The next step is, preparing for the job market. And that involves research. When moving into a new field or even advancing within a field, if you're already in it, it's very important to know the industry trends, right? So things like Is is this field growing? Are there going to be, a lot of job opportunities, over the next few years? Is it shrinking? Maybe there aren't going to be, that many, job opportunities, and you need to plan accordingly. Maybe it's, staying relatively the same. All of that is pretty important to know. It could be that some, parts of the field are growing and some, aren't. For instance, in the IT field, there's a lot of talk about AI right now. So, a lot of jobs that sort of involve AI, there's going to be more opportunities for that, in the near future. So, all of this is important and can really help you, sort of plan the best path to your goal, and, help you figure out what avenues to pursue. It's not just about industry trends, though. You also want to know sort of what it takes to be successful in a certain industry. What kind of education and training do you need? Do a lot of these jobs require, certain experience, things like that. And all of that's, considered job market research. So, again, doing this research helps you sort of present your best self when it comes time to create a resume and really start marketing yourself. And there are a lot of good resources for this. We'll bring them up in a couple slides. But a lot of this research you can do, online. At least to start. So we just mentioned resumes. I think a lot of times when we're talking about the job search, the first thing that comes to people's mind is a resume, right? No matter what kind of field you're going into, you're pretty much always going to have to submit a resume, right, to a hiring manager so they can see your skills and qualifications and, see if you're a good fit for the job. This workshop isn't about sort of resumes, but I'll, kind of go through it quickly. You want to make sure your resume stands out. A lot of recruiters and employers are getting, thousands of resumes, especially, as people apply online. So making sure that yours stands out is very important. On a good resume, you want to make sure that you've got your lot of things, right? We think skills, education, training, all that's very important. The most important thing, though, is make sure you have the correct contact information. If an employer can't reach you, you could be the best candidate, to ever apply, but you're not going to get the job if they can't get in touch with you. So it's a little thing, but it's something you want to be careful about. Anyway, aside from that, the resume is a place to highlight your skills, and here's where the transferable skills come in. You want to put skills on your resume that are relevant to the field that you're going into. And you can get a sense of what's relevant by looking at the job descriptions that you're applying to and things like that, doing that market research. You also want to put professional experience on the resume. If it's relevant to the field you're into, great. If not, make sure you highlight those transferable skills so that it is relevant. Experience doesn't just have to be paid experience. It can be volunteering. It can be internships. If you're, it doesn't really matter if you pick up the skills through a paid job or through volunteering, you still have those skills, right? You can still show what you can do. So, be generous with yourself about how much experience, you actually have. In the IT field, if you've done sort of projects on your own time, maybe some coding, that's all relevant experience. You can put that on your resume, right? That's all good stuff. You also want to make sure that you have your education and training on the resume. A lot of jobs will have an education requirement, so you want to make sure that you hit that. As well as any training that you've done. In the IT field, especially, there are so many different certifications you can pursue. So, if you've got some of those, definitely put them on the resume. It is important to also highlight your key accomplishments and things like that. Numbers are always good. Maybe as a retail manager, you increase, overall sales in the store by 10%, or, X amount of dollars. That's all good. That's tangible things that employers can see. And a lot of times that makes the difference. The more detailed, the better. So that's resumes, very, very briefly. A cover letter, always good to have. Some jobs may not require it or may say that it's optional to submit one. If you have the option to submit one, it's never a bad idea. What the cover letter does is gives you a chance to provide a little more information about yourself that you wouldn't necessarily be able to put on the resume. Specific things like, why are you applying to this company in particular, right? What about them sort of stands out to you? It's a place where you can talk about your sort of career goals and how, if you're hired by X, Y, and Z company, this will help you, advance your career. You can also provide a little more detail about your work experience that you or training that you may not be able to fit on the resume. So always a good idea to have. And with a cover letter, that should always be tailored to the specific job that you're applying for. The resume should be tailored as much as possible, but a lot of times you can use, if you're applying to similar jobs, you can use the same resume for that. But a cover letter should always be tailored to the specific job. All right, so here's another one of the resource that I was talking about. This is great. I use this one all the time. It's ONET online. It's a website run by the U.S. Department of Labor, and this really is a great site for industry research, market research. They do have an assessment. It's the Career Interest Profiler. You'll answer some questions and it'll spit out some sort of career field results based on your interests. So if you're not quite sure what you want to do or which direction you want to go for your job, this is a great place to start. In addition to the assessments, it also has a wealth of labor market information. Any job you can think of, you can kind of plug it in here. It'll show the overall growth in the field. It'll show things like salary, and that's even on, you can break it down by salary by zip code, right? So you can get pretty specific information. It also shows sort of what skills and technology are commonly used in these job fields. Things about sort of work environments, specific job duties, what kind of work you're likely to do. All of that is on this site. So it really is a good place to start. Especially if you're looking to answer that salary question of, what kind of pay are you expecting, that a lot of job applications have. So I would definitely recommend checking this out. Okay. So I think a lot of us here are probably familiar with online job boards, right? So you've got your resume, you've maybe got a cover letter, you've got some job titles and a career field that you're looking to pursue. Now it's time to actually start applying for jobs, right? And the first stop for a lot of people are these online job boards, places like Indeed and Glassdoor, Simply Hired, even LinkedIn, Career Builder and Monster are some other job boards as well. And what these job boards do is basically take openings from all across the internet, different companies, and put them all together. So it is a very sort of fast and easy way to see, well, at least to get a general idea of what positions are out there and what's available, especially in your local area. And with a lot of these, you can even apply to those jobs through these boards, right? You can upload your resume to Indeed, sort of complete a profile, and apply just like that. So it is pretty convenient and easy. Now they're not perfect. You do occasionally get scams through some of these websites. So like anything, you do have to be careful. General rule of thumb: if something sounds too good to be true, it probably is. So that's one thing to watch out for. But the thing that I mostly sort of have to work around is sometimes these job boards aren't necessarily updated as quickly as you would like. So you may log on to Indeed, see the perfect job opportunity for you, and unfortunately, because it was posted a month ago, it may have already been filled. Right, the company is not looking for that position anymore. So my sort of recommended best practice is absolutely use Indeed and Career Builder and Glassdoor. That's great. But when you see a job opening in a company, what I would recommend doing is then going and searching that company online and applying directly through their job site. Um, you know, you may have to fill out sort of a longer application, and there may be some assessments and stuff, but you would have to do that anyway. So it does, kind of speed up the process a little bit, and you get to see if the position that you're interested in, is still there. So plus, it's a good way to do that research and learn a little more about the company that you're applying for. So that's my best practice with using these job boards. But absolutely as a place to start and kind of see what's out there. Yeah, they're a good resource. Now, since we're at the Ignite Hub today and we're talking about some IT jobs, there are a number of online job boards that are focused more on IT roles than anything else. Dice is the big one, dice.com. But you also have sites like Stack Overflow, Ladders, and FlexJobs, which a lot of times you get sort of remote work on that one. So like the other ones, I would say if you see a job that you're interested here, see if you can go to the company's website and apply. Just to make sure that you have all the information available. Now, some of these companies do only accept applications through sites like Indeed and Dice. And FlexJobs, and that's fine. In that case, go ahead and apply through that site, no problem. But where possible, go on the company's website and check them out as well. That's part of the research. We're going to take a bit of a break here, and I'm going to put this question out to everybody. Is anyone sort of familiar with these job boards, and if so, which ones have you used? And what's been your sort of impression of some of those job boards? Go ahead. Yeah.
Just to be sure you don't get info, like mentioned once, all of the LinkedIn, because that's what I'm using personally.
You're using LinkedIn? Great,
yeah.
Great.
I'm trying to, expand my network as much as I can, connect interesting people, connect people in relevant companies. Do you have what is your approach in regarding to LinkedIn?
Yeah. So LinkedIn is great. We'll get to sort of a portion of this workshop about networking, but yeah, so absolutely. LinkedIn, you can find job postings on LinkedIn and apply through LinkedIn to those jobs, so that sort of makes it convenient. But really sort of where the power of LinkedIn comes in, and you reference this, is the ability to network. So you can see what other people are on LinkedIn. You can see people who work at that company. Maybe you know them, or maybe someone that knows them. You can connect with them and get more information. So it really lets you. It gives you the opportunity to sort of apply for jobs with more than just your resume, right? If you're able to connect with certain people in various industries. Now people can put a face to the name, right? And that's always important. So I'm a big fan of LinkedIn, and I would definitely recommend everyone get a LinkedIn account for sure. Did that answer your question? Great.
So Chris, there are a couple questions and comments on the chat in Zoom. Okay. So first question here. Sorry. Are there any sites or tools you can recommend to help with the self-assessment to start the process?
Yeah. So the big one is probably ONET. Like I mentioned, if you go on there, right on the front page, you'll see a career interests profiler. I would start with that. Basically, it gives you, I think it's about 60 questions. It doesn't take very long, maybe 10 minutes. But you answer questions sort of based on what you would like to do, not necessarily what you feel you'd be good at or what you have the training for, but what you'd be interested in. That's all that matters for this assessment. You can go through, and then at the end it'll spit out some possible sort of career paths that you can explore. The CompTIA one is also very good. That one actually sort of lets you match your the skills that you have to a career path in IT. Honestly, you can probably Google sort of career self-assessment, and a number of results will come up, and those are generally pretty good as well.
Great, thank you. And a comment for your discussion section is, I have used LinkedIn. This is Athena Baker. I have used LinkedIn before, but in all honesty, I find that Indeed and other job boards to have very high hit, or boards to be very hit or miss. I usually find it easy to get a job by volunteering for an organization. And she continues, volunteering is a great way for networking and getting experience while putting your skills to test.
It absolutely is, and we're gonna get to that. But yes, thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, so while I definitely recommend Indeed and things like that, the fact of the matter is, it doesn't, applying through Indeed doesn't, like any applications, it doesn't necessarily mean that the companies are going to be super responsive, right? We're still going to run into the issues of getting feedback on your application and things like that. Another issue that sort of comes up around LinkedIn a lot is, you can sort of put in what jobs you're looking for and have them send you an email listing all the jobs. And sometimes, those aren't very relevant, right? You might be looking for something in the IT field, but it's recommending, I don't know, a retail position or driving Uber or something like that, which, is fine. Those are all fine jobs. But if it's not what you're looking for, then, it's sort of just taking up space. So, again, that's really where I recommend using Indeed as sort of the first step of a search, and then going directly to the company website and doing it like that.
And kind of to summarize another question, is there a job board that you can recommend that can help find IT internships specifically for IT fields?
Internships, yeah.
And Emma said Montgomery County Volunteer Center.
Oh, as
one
a good
of them.
volunteer, yeah. So that's an option, Montgomery County Volunteer Center. So with the internships, my experience is that sometimes you can find some of those on places like Indeed or Dice. The approach that I probably recommend is focus on sort of figuring out like a company that you would like to work for first, going on that website and seeing what their sort of internship opportunities are. You could also, if you're affiliated with like a college or a university, the career centers there may have some leads on internships and things like that. I believe, Maryland Department of Labor has an apprenticeship tool that you could use as well. That's not really an internship, but there's some resources there as well. But for the internships, I would say sort of figure out what companies a company or several companies that you want to intern for, and check with them, directly.
And another question, Chris, that came in earlier was that what are some examples for volunteer work that's applicable for IT?
Okay. So yeah, so if you're good at, say, web design or something like that, you have some experience there, a lot of different, maybe there's a small business that is looking to sort of expand their digital footprint and needs a website designed. Maybe could be a business run by a friend or a family member, or someone in your community. And maybe a nonprofit needs some help updating their website or doing social media, coordination, that sort of thing. If you're interested in something like, say, computer repair, there are a number of nonprofit organizations in Montgomery County that have like volunteers that repair computers and they get resold. Phoenix Computers in Rockville is one of them, and there's some others. So places like that offer volunteer opportunities as well.
Yeah, so along with Phoenix Computer, there's also Project Reboot that has they take volunteers, and it's low cost computers for the community members. Another comment is from Athena Baker. As far as paid internships go, I know that education companies like Panda Programmer, Code Advantage, and possibly VizArt offers paid opportunity where you can put your tech skills to good use. VizArt is working on bringing more themed related arts to its organization.
There you go. Those are some great examples right there. Yeah. Thank you.
Panda Programmer and Code Advantage and VizArt. VizArt is actually here in Rockville.
Yeah.
Town Center.
P.S. I do currently work at VizArts. That's why I know about these places. I'm also part of Code Advantage.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for the information. And that's it, Chris, for the question for this section.
Okay.
Section. Oh, sorry.
Okay, great. So networking, we've sort of brought that up a little bit right now. So unfortunately, oftentimes, finding a job isn't quite as simple as, going online, finding an opening, submitting your resume, and then, that's it, right? If only it were that easy. Unfortunately, a lot of times you may not get a response, just because companies have so many candidates, and it can sort of be hard to make yourself stand out if all you're providing is a resume. Does that work in some cases? Absolutely. But a lot of times, you need to have other strategies as well, and that's where networking comes in. So networking is pretty crucial. Fortunately, again, there are a lot of sort of ways to make it easy. I think a lot of times when we think about networking, we get this idea of, oh, you got to get dressed up and go to a ballroom somewhere and talk with executives or something, and a lot of times that can be overwhelming, right? Like, wow, how do I even start that process? But fortunately, networking can mean a lot of different things. We mentioned LinkedIn. LinkedIn is great. It's a sort of like Facebook, but sort of for professionals. So it's a great way to connect with people in the industry. And it has a feature where you can kind of see first, second, and third degree connections. So, if maybe I don't know someone maybe I'm looking to get a job in the IT field and I don't know someone, but my colleague Emma knows someone. And so, I can sort of see, if I'm connected with her on LinkedIn, I can see who all she knows, and perhaps ask for a referral or to get in touch with someone that she knows. So it really is designed to sort of expedite that that networking. You can also join professional groups and things like that as well. And people who are on LinkedIn are generally pretty happy to talk to people about their field and any opportunities that may come up. It's not just on LinkedIn. A lot of these groups have you can have in-person networking events and things like that. Meetups as well. Hiring events, frankly, are a way to network, right? That means you actually get to have, ideally, FaceTime with a recruiter and can sort of talk a little bit more about yourself. So, attending some of these information sessions or hiring events are always good. Again, if you're affiliated with a college or university, a lot of times their career center may have connections as well. So leveraging things like that is great. Now, volunteering, I know that came up. Volunteering is a great way to not only get experience but to meet people, right? If you can volunteer sort of doing work that's relevant to the career you want to get into, even better. Again, you get to show off your skills in real time and meet people who can help you and give you references moving forward. That said, even if you're not able to find an opportunity like that, seeking out volunteer opportunities is still very helpful, just because a lot of people volunteer and you never know who you're going to meet, right? You may not be volunteering in an IT capacity, but that person that you're volunteering with at the soup kitchen might be working in might be working for an IT company or know someone who is, right? And again, you get to show your other skills, right? How you show up, how you behave professionally, all that kind of stuff. So, that's always good. And, I can attest to this personally. Volunteering can help you, land a job. That is, that's absolutely a thing that can happen. So, I can't recommend that enough. The other thing is, if you're not currently working, having some volunteer experience on your resume shows that you're doing something, right? You're not sort of just sitting around. You are, contributing, to the community and gaining skills and all that good stuff. So, if you're not working, I would absolutely recommend, seeking out some volunteer opportunities as well. And so, some other parts about networking, obviously, you want to, if possible, you want to try to get these referrals or recommendations. And LinkedIn actually has a feature where people can give you those recommendations through the website. Informational interviews are another good tool. That's where you basically ask someone who's working in your field or working for a company that you're interested in, just to sit down and have a chat with you about the company and the different roles, the jobs. It's not necessarily interviewing for a job. They may or may not have openings. It's simply to, gather more information so that you can sort of better, plan out your job search. Or maybe you're preparing to apply to this company, and that informational interview will give you some more insight. And, in my experience, people are pretty happy to talk about themselves, right? And that's basically what you're asking them to do. So, a lot of people are out there willing to share information. And it's a little bit less pressure for both parties if you're not sort of coming in with the expectation of, oh, I might get, hired after this. Now, you should still act professionally and sort of do everything you do in a real interview. You want to make a good impression, but it's a little bit different with what you're trying to get out of it. And of course, you can always directly contact companies. A lot of times when people I'm working with are applying for jobs, I do try to encourage them to follow up with the companies after submitting a resume or an online application. It is easier said than done. If you're applying for a smaller company, it may be a little bit easier to get in touch with them. Some of the bigger companies, it can be hard to find, a contact to follow up with, and that's okay. Sort of do the best you can. In some job applications, they'll even say, please don't follow up. We'll get in touch. And, and in that case, you've done what you can do. That's totally fine. But where possible, try to follow up with the companies. It could be HR. If there's a manager, try to follow up with them. If you can visit the company in person, depending on what it is, sometimes that can be a good strategy. Yeah. So, I would definitely recommend that. Even if you haven't applied to this company, but you're potentially interested, just reaching out and asking for some more information, shows that you're interested and lets them put a name with the application.
Also, Chris,
Yeah.
Emma mentioned something in the chat, which I think is very important. As part of networking, you could network with your friends and family members.
Yes.
I also encourage when I was teaching that if you're taking any IT related courses or any courses you're taking, you can network with your friends or your classmates there. You'll never know who's the new CEO of a new company, right? So
Exactly.
It's a good opportunity.
That is a very important point, right? When we talk about networking, you're not just approaching the CEO of Apple or Google or wherever. No, it can start very sort of small, right? Your friends and your family, because you never know who they know or where they're going with their careers, right? So that's really where your network starts, is the people sort of closest to you and who you know, because it sort of branches out from there. Absolutely. So again, just a discussion question. Sort of thinking about this networking, are there, and you don't have to give details, but basically, are there people who you think you could potentially leverage in a network, people you might want to reach out to, and that can just be hey, I have X, Y, and Z training. I'm looking for a job in the IT field. If you know anyone who's looking, let me know. Right? That's all you need to do. Just sort of putting it out, sort of what you're looking for, and asking people to let you know if they hear anything.
But can everyone, can everyone sort of watching think of one or two people who might be able to reach out to, or what steps you might take? Could be sort of yes or no. I think, I think the answer really should be yes, even if you haven't thought about it. Again, family, friends, teachers. Maybe if you're, again, to use the retail example, if there's a regular customer who, you've struck up a conversation with a few times, you never know. They could be, they could be hiring. So it really can be anything.
Also, it's one answer could be like, because you are here at the Ignite Hub
Exactly.
and in the chat at Ignite Hub, we might have some opportunities to either volunteer or hire for part-time faculty during our summer camps and things like that. So you never know when the opportunity exists. Okay, there's some sound problem. Well,
Is that better?
Yes, because it was cutting on and off.
Oh, so sorry
Okay.
about that.
Thank you.
Okay, so what I was saying is an easy opportunity is just something in front of you and kind of grabbing that opportunity. Like here you are at Ignite Hub, meeting with a career coach, and checking out like what does Ignite Hub have to offer. We do have some faculty, summertime, part-time faculty and things like that. So you never know when the opportunity is. And that's why networking is so important.
Absolutely. So this is kind of related to networking, but when we're talking about a job search, follow-up is very important. And a lot of times we talk about following up as the next step after you've submitted an application. Again, employers are looking at, maybe thousands of resumes and applications, and you want to make sure that that you stand out. And unfortunately, it's a pretty common experience to submit your application and then it just kind of seems like it's out there in the void and that's it, right? You may not get a response or for a while, and that can be pretty discouraging. So following up is, if you can, it can sort of help mitigate some of those problems. If possible, email is probably the best way to do it. I have had people tell me, oh, I sent a snail mail, regular mail thank you note, and people like that. You're welcome to do that if you want. My only concern with that would be that it may not get there very quickly, whereas an email will. So if you can, once you've submitted an application, and if you can find an email for the the HR department, usually just send a follow-up. It doesn't have to be very long. You can just say something along the lines of, good morning. I just submitted an application for X, Y, and Z position. Here's why I think I would be a great candidate. Looking forward to hearing from you. I want to make sure, you got all my information. So, let me know if you have any questions. Something like that. Doesn't have to be very long. Just just a quick professional email to follow up. So that does two things. One, it sort of prompts them to give a response, but two, it shows that you're interested. The vast majority of people who are applying online to these positions aren't following up. So, taking that extra time to try to reach out and shows that you're sort of extra dedicated and very interested in this position. That can make a difference. Again, easier said than done. Some of the bigger companies, it may be hard to find contact information and things like that. That may be where LinkedIn comes in handy. But do the best you can. So ideally, you want to try to reach out after submitting a resume or online application. Generally within a day is great, or a week if you can. Generally sort of not more than that. You want to do it sort of pretty quickly after you've applied, just so it's fresh in the employer's mind. You also want to follow up after getting an interview as well. It's not just after submitting a resume. basically at every step of the process. So, if you're invited to an interview, follow up with them after that too, thank them for their time, and, reiterate why you'd be a good candidate, all that kind of stuff. Again, it shows that you're dedicated. Now, while you should be diligent about following up, don't stalk or harass the employer, right? If you can, reach them by email, great, but just send the one email, right? You shouldn't necessarily be emailing them every day until you get a response. Or, if the company has a phone number, don't call them every day, asking about your application status. You may be a great applicant on paper. You may have had a great interview, but like any of us, the employers won't necessarily like it if it comes across as if you're being annoying basically and calling every day, emailing every day, harassing them. So don't do that. One email is fine, and then whatever happens will happen. And you can kind of go from there. All right. So, the job search, like anything, and unfortunately, a large part of it is dealing with rejection, right? You're most likely going to send out a lot of applications before, before finding the position that you like and getting an acceptance. Some of the realities of the job search, there's a lot of competition out there. Again, some employer, because it's so easy to apply online, places have, maybe getting thousands of applications, especially if they're larger companies. So you are competing against a lot of people. You shouldn't let that discourage you, because frankly, if you have the skills and the experience, and you're the right candidate, then great. It doesn't matter how many people have applied, you're still going to be the best person. But the idea that you're competing can be discouraging. So, it is just something to think about and sort of try to move past by being confident in yourself. Nothing happens overnight. While it would be great to, if every company replied within a day or a week or something, that's just unfortunately not what happens. A lot of these companies, especially the bigger ones, have an HR process that takes time. They're going through so many different applications. They have other priorities. So you may not get a response back right away. I've had some folks I've worked with who have applied for, I guess, federal government jobs, and sometimes it'll be 6 months before they hear back. So it's not enough to sort of submit one application and then sort of hope on that. Keep applying, and generally you will hear back at some point, but nothing happens overnight. And just because you haven't heard back the next day or within a week doesn't necessarily mean that you're not being considered. It just means that they're busy. We just got past the holidays right now, but if any of you have applied for jobs right before the holiday, you probably didn't get a response until right about now, just because people are out of the office. There will always be disappointments. A lot of times you might get that email that just says, thank you for applying. We've decided to move on with other candidates. Not a lot of feedback, and that can be disappointing. But that is part of the process, and you're not alone, right? It unfortunately is happening to a lot of people. And that is just something to sort of accept and move past. It's not necessarily a judgment against what you bring to the table, right? You have no idea what went into that rejection. Maybe they hired an internal candidate. Maybe they decided not to fill the job. Maybe there were, budgetary concerns. Who knows? So you can't take it personally and sort of feel like it's a reflection on you, because it's not. But the biggest reality of all is it's work, right? Finding a job is basically a full-time job by itself. So, again, put in that same level of work that you would put into a job, and you're likely to be a lot more successful. The clicker. Thank you. This is sort of a visual of the sort of emotional roller coaster that you may need to prepare for when finding a job, right? When you first start out, you're optimistic. maybe you find the perfect position for you and you're excited about that. Maybe you're going to get it, you apply, maybe you go through an interview or two, it's, you're pretty happy. But, if you don't start to hear back, then it starts becoming, you start becoming anxious and, afraid, is this going to work out? If that happens a lot, you can feel depression, panic, desperation. So, there's sort of the positive emotions on the job search and also the negative emotions. And, none of those negative emotions are fun, but, it is something that you have to sort of realize that you may feel, and that's okay. That's normal. The trick is just sort of minimizing that time and moving forward and knowing that, these negative emotions, they're not, it's not always going to be there. Things will get better and will work out. Even if you're at the bottom and feeling desperate, there is hope and optimism again afterwards. So, managing this sort of emotional roller coaster and basically just trying to minimize the negative feelings and keep optimistic for, for as much of the process as you can is really the key here. It's highly recommended that you create a job search plan. So here we have a visual of a sample schedule, right? Maybe you set a goal of applying to 15 employers a week, right? Or attending networking events, updating your resume, doing training, doing volunteering. All of that can be part of your plan, right? You can even break it down like this one does: morning, afternoon, evening. In the morning, you do emails. In the afternoon, you do job applications. Make sure you exercise and eat right and get enough sleep. That's also part of this, right? You're going to feel better and more able to handle all this if you're feeling healthy and well, yourself. And again, it's not just about sending out the job applications. The networking should take up a pretty big piece, right? Reach out to people, update your LinkedIn profile, do training or volunteering, study a new skill. All of that stuff is good. And it's okay to take a break, right? You don't need to do this 24/7. As you can see on this schedule here, Saturday and Sunday you have personal time, right? So, but having this plan gives you something to follow, and even if the going gets tough, at least you have this to fall back on. And the idea that you will see results. So, you definitely want to create a job search plan for yourself. All right. As we begin to wrap up here, hopefully this has been informative to everyone. Would anyone like to share anything they've learned, or maybe would like to focus on or improve on, going forward? And how are you approaching your job search in the new year? A few minutes of discussion around that. Sure.
So I graduated from University of Maryland with a master's degree in management and a specialization in human resources.
Right.
So right now, I was very interested in IT and technology, right? So I attended to a boot camp, which is very demanding. It's like really hard, especially for somebody that don't know anything about, technology is everything is new, really new. So right now, of course, I'm looking something in my major, but also related to IT.
Sure.
Technology, right? So as you said before, as you mentioned before, it's so important networking because you never know.
Yeah.
So if you guys wanna follow me in LinkedIn, because at some point in time, I am already in HR, and I'm gonna be in a position that I will be able to help everybody, because that's one of my goals, because I came to Montgomery College, I attended classes in here. I know how we as students struggle so much to just come here and take the classes, and a lot of us work. Yeah. And it's very exhausting. So now that I finished it, I would like to just give back to the community. And if you guys want to follow me, I know at some point I'm going to get to the position that I need to be, which is hopefully very soon, and then I will be able to help everybody. So, and as you said, also, so important to do volunteering jobs because that reflects a part of you that is so important for employers. They're going to be looking for you on your resume. And if you did something extra as volunteering, that's part of the community. You are providing something to the community. So it's so important because I did it. I do that too. I've tried to look for volunteering jobs. I tell everybody, do you have anything that I can help you with? Everywhere I go, I always offer my services to everybody, you know, and if you can do that too, and also put on your resume. And if you do the volunteering, tell the company that you're volunteering for that you're looking for a job and they probably don't have the job for you, but if they can refer you, if you don't have any professional, you know, like, or somebody that refer you in your previous job, whatever, and you don't get along with them, it's okay. But they will tell you, yes, just write it down my name. Just let me know whenever the, you know, the company is looking for you, and then I will be you referred because I did it. So I have, you know, my companies that I volunteer for, and they are so happy they're going to help me out because at some point I also, you know, help them out.
Absolutely, yeah. No, thank you for sharing, and yeah, that's the one.
Yes, thank you.
Now, just want to reply to you. So, I'm joining college student, actively looking for some kind of first internship or interposition. I'll be happy to be your first client, you know, to be in touch with you.
I know because you know, so one of my biggest issues when I came to the country was the language, you know, language barrier. So I learned how to speak the language, how to go to classes, how to work, and then do all these processes and the struggle. So I understand every single one of us. So that's what I'm so glad that I got to the point that I finished my master's, and now, you know, I'm very close to get to what I would like to be. So yes, and as soon as I have something, I will actually, now that I meet you guys, I'm gonna let you know. So hopefully we're gonna be in contact, and then, you know, whatever I have in my hands, I will be able to just help you out, guys, and it's just, you know, collaboration.
That's great. Maybe after the session, you can meet with Chris.
Yeah.
And you can be a resource for
Yeah.
all of our other participants. Thank you
Yes,
so
yes,
much.
sure, no problem.
There is a comment in the chat. I would like to get advice on finding companies who take you seriously. I tried looking for a full-time job as a technical writer when my family and I moved last year, but despite my impressive resume and friendly nature, not even my new working experience was enough to get me the salary that I need to move out for good. I already have a part-time job teaching. I need more. It doesn't help that I'm in the process of learning the hard way that there are times when even a teacher, you can't get money due to the last minute cancellation.
Yeah. So I mean, I definitely understand your frustrations. As we sort of wrap up here, I do want to plug. So, you know, I'm like I mentioned, I'm a career coach, and I'm not just here, you know, every month to give the workshops. In partnership with the Ignite Hub, you know, we do offer one-on-one career coaching as well. That, you know, you're more than welcome to take advantage of. We're gonna put up a QR code here that'll, you know, take you to the Ignite Hub website, and you can actually go in and schedule a, you know, a one-on-one appointment with a career coach. And we're more than happy to, you know, to talk with you about your individual situation and, you know, see how we can help. So it's the one on the right, I guess. We'd also appreciate if you took out a few minutes to fill out the post-event survey. We use that to, you know, improve our offerings for each session. So, but yeah, you know, definitely feel free to, you know, to sign up for a session. They're here at Montgomery College, and yeah, it'd be a good resource. Any other sort of comments or questions as we're wrapping up here today?
You have my LinkedIn, and you can look up for me as Maria D. Eastburn. And then
Maria,
Maria D. So you can add me.
let me type it in here.
Sure, thank you. Maria D. Yes. Yeah, make sure you.
So I do want to address that question though. Obviously, we'd be happy to meet with you, one-on-one to sort of talk about that situation. But, I know you mentioned sort of as far as companies taking you seriously. And I do think that, perhaps trying to do that networking and sort of trying to meet with someone sort of face to face and really, presenting yourself sort of in person, I think that may, help. And again, we can sort of talk about how to do that, but, I think sort of focusing on the networking piece may be a good strategy there.
So if you want to kind of have that one-on-one session, the QR code on the right, you can schedule an appointment to meet with Chris. There will be some other availabilities coming up soon. Here, I also put the link in the chat to sign up to make appointment to meet with Chris so he can help you with your job search strategy and more and other things. And if you would do the event survey for us, this will help us improve our services in the future. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions in the chat or in the room? One
Go ahead.
second.
As I noticed that every time that I go to an interview, I get so nervous. I think that everything that I practice, I tend to forget. So mocking interviews are so important. Just do it with your friends, with family, whoever it is, for 15 minutes. Do it. The more you practice, the more you're going to be able to go through the interview and be clear. Because if you are not very clear, you don't speak very clear to the recruiter, they're not going to get you. They're not going to hire you. So make sure you do the mock interviews. So important.
Yeah, I mean, regarding interviews, that's basically it. It's the best thing to do is practice. It's very normal to be nervous, or to sort of forget what you're going to say, all that stuff.
It happens to everybody, and the key to that is just practice. Mock interviews are great. Like you said, you can do them with friends or family. Another thing that I like to recommend sometimes is if you record yourself doing the interview and then play it back, it gives you a different perspective. If you're using filler words or if you're, not getting the information across that you hope is getting across. So yeah, all of those are good things. I think we may even have a workshop coming up on interviews, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, always good advice.
Going college, so like you mentioned before, like Panda programmers and then 2 more.
So our participants, one of our participants in the chat had mentioned Panda coding.
Yeah.
And coding advantage as the 2 and VisArt. But these are opportunities that you can look through organizations and then like what Chris was saying earlier, you find an organization that you like and that you think that you want to work with, you can start there. I know there are other programs that will offer internships or just not internship, but volunteer opportunities. But those were the 3 that were mentioned. Also, Montgomery County Volunteer, let me look it up. Something that I'm not sure.
Montgomery County Volunteer Center.
Yeah, Montgomery County Volunteer Center, and they actually have, it's a database bank.
Yeah.
You go in there and do a search. if you are a Montgomery College student or any students in the area, Montgomery, the College University Network also has a kind of volunteer bank that you can go to. It's the College Network. Okay, so this is, if you're part of any of the college, you don't have to be just a MC student. This is college connection. So you can just get started here and mark, say yourself as a student. And then you can select, they have different opportunities. I wonder if I can do that. Get my password, but so this is an opportunity, this is a data bank, a database that connects you to opportunities. So for example, if the college is looking for somebody, a student assistant or volunteers or things like that, they will go to this page. And these are colleges in the area and not just at Montgomery College. So this is one option and
Do you mind repeating that? Because the sound was going in and out.
Oh, sorry about that. I forgot to turn off the other mic. So this is collegecentral.com, and if you get started here, you build kind of like a portfolio or a profile, and then you get connected to the different educational system in the, I want to say in the state, if not nationwide, that you can see what opportunities they have. And this has like internship opportunity, volunteer opportunities. And then the other one was Montgomery. What was it, Chris?
Montgomery County
County
Volunteer Center.
Volunteer Center.
County Volunteer Center. I'm gonna pull that up so you can see what it looks like.
Yeah.
So this has all the different volunteer opportunity, and even for, let me do this. For high school students, they can do their student service learning things, but they have other opportunities for volunteers and internship as well, as you can see here. Different things. I wonder if we can sort by technology. And then you can see technology associate. Here's the Phoenix computer that we were talking about. Develop IT, different company. JSSA is a big organization as well. Kit Museum is a very fun opportunity organization. So you can go to this website, Montgomery County Volunteer Center, as a way to start your volunteer journey and career.
Yep.
Right. Any other questions? Do we have any other questions? I think we're good, right? Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Chris will be here for a little bit. For those who are in person, if you want to chit chat, this is a great practice for networking. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Oh, just now? Oh, okay, awesome. When will it be? Okay.
Okay.
Do you wanna take an appointment now? Or
Sure.
do you wanna meet now?
Chat now.
We just, unless you want.
If you give me 5 minutes, we can chat.
Perfect. Let me. Thank you. Can I grab, can I get your name? Anna A. Hold on a second, just, for registration. Let me log this off. And so